Yo, welcome to Eden Fractal, actually Eden Town Hall, an Eden Fractal community event. We're here for Eden Town Hall number 76, and we're Eden Town Hall period 136. We're getting up to the numbers. I'm pleased to be here with Tadas and Eric. We have some exciting topics on the agenda, as always. So, Tadas, Eric, if you guys want to jump in at any point, then feel free, but otherwise I'll give a quick presentation with a rundown of the topics on the agenda for today's Town Hall. Alright, so today is March 12th, and as I said, we're here at our 76th Eden Town Hall event. You can check out this Eden Creators tweet here to see the invitation to the two Eden Fractal community events. We're going to be having the Town Hall for the next just about hour, and then after that we're going to be doing the Eden Fractal Respect game, and there is 6 topics on the agenda for today. There's Eden Fractal Spring Break, Eden Fractal Community Agreement, Eden Fractal Intent Document, and Eden Plus Fractal Improvements, exploring matrix.org, and recognizing prior contributions. More details in the tweet, also some videos and stuff that you can like and share. Eden Fractal is a community dedicated to optimizing collective decision making. Everyone can learn more at edenfractal.com, of course. And here at Eden Town Hall, we're dedicated to exploring the future of collaborative decision making and fractal governance with the Eden Fractal community. More details at edentownhall.com. The most recent videos from Eden Fractal's past few events have now been released. In the last week's Eden Town Hall, we had a great episode envisioning firmament and SRT improvements with Tadas, where we discussed for like 3 hours. We had a fascinating discussion, and then also the most recent Respect game is published now too. So Eden Creators YouTube channel is where you can learn more about these, and encourage everybody to watch if you weren't able to participate in those events. So, and these are also on the Eden Town Hall and Eden Fractal websites, as always, too. So next week we're going to just have an Eden Fractal event or an Eden Town Hall event, but today we have both of them, as I said before. And then today is March 12th. We're talking about taking a break on the 26th, after the 26th. So we're going to talk more about that today, but just letting me know in case you haven't been following the chat, we're going to have probably 2 more events after this one for the first half of Season 12 of Eden Fractal. And now I think everyone here knows well that the way that we've been doing Town Hall events is playing the Synchronous Respect Trees version 1 game that Tadas had created. He shared a link in the Eden Fractal Telegram group with rules of the game and how to play. And so Tadas and myself proposed some topics or contribution requests over the past week, and those can be found in the Eden Fractal Snapshot space. The topic with the most votes is Eden Fractal Spring Break. That has 43% of the votes, followed by Eden Plus Fractal Improvements and Eden Fractal Intent Document. So we'll generally go in that order for topics we discuss, although we can also be flexible and jump around and use it as a guide. And I think we're pretty much ready to get started. Maybe we'll just provide a little bit of context for anybody who isn't familiar with our prior discussions with Spring Break, because we've been talking about that for a while now. So we've been talking about this for like the past 3 weeks. This is the topic proposal that I put out in the Eden Fractal Telegram group with a lot of context. I had made kind of a draft proposal for a 4-week break from events, and I linked to the videos where we discussed this over the past 2 events as well, or maybe even 3, I don't know. We discussed it a little bit each event. And I put out this proposal for an Eden Fractal Spring Break, 4-week break, and then Tadas left some comments here, and I just put out kind of like a draft proposal that we could suggest here, which I suppose I can read out loud and we can go over once we're ready to go in. I see Tadas said that's much better. Thanks, Tadas, for all the comments. And then there's also another document that I put together here about how we could think about a flexibility clause, because Tadas and I had previously discussed having like a flexibility clause with the Eden Plus Fractal Council could potentially change the date of returning break, and I wrote some ideas about why that might be helpful and useful, and there's also comments here too. So I think that's pretty much it. There's also other stuff we can talk about with Eden Plus Fractal Improvements and so forth when we get there, and the Eden Plus Fractal Intent Document, because I think that these will kind of be, or Eden Fractal Intent Document. Tadas releases really interesting Codeberg repository, so I think that these will kind of relate, and they both have second most votes. But with that, maybe we'll start off with the proposal for the Eden Fractal Spring Break, and if you want, I can read out the specific proposal and then we can start there, or I can go over more of these details in this actual proposal. There's like some context and rationale and what happens during spring break. This is mostly just what I had published last week that we discussed, but I did just update it and changed a few things around, and then I did make that new document. So if anyone wants me to go over that new document, then this explains more about the flexibility clause and how it would work with the Eden Plus Fractal process, and some considerations for during the break about factors that could favor a longer break, or factors that could factor a shorter break, that could favor a shorter break, and what I was currently thinking about how we could use it. So yeah, that's a pretty good introduction, I think, that provides a high-level overview. Welcome, Sebastian. Thanks for joining us. Great to see you. Hope you've been well. And Tadas, I see you're unmuted, so do you want to share any thoughts?
I can share thoughts about what we could do, or I don't know if you want to present a proposal first, or do you just explain that? I don't know.
It's up to you. I'm happy to present it and read out loud what I said there, but I'm also very interested to hear your thoughts. And in particular, I know this other document that you created, or I suppose document, but this thing that you created on the Eden Fractal Codeberg site, you actually had you said there was some issue with scheduling respect game events with Eden Plus Fractal, and then you had created in your intent document for Eden Fractal, like this first draft you made a new Eden event scheduling mechanism, which I don't know if that's relevant here. It seems like it might be relevant. So yeah, I'm happy to share and read out the proposal at any point if you want me to, but I'm also very curious to hear your thoughts too. So if you want to go first, then go ahead.
What about others? The introduction would be for others about the proposal, but
Yeah. Also, Sebastian or Eric, if you guys have any thoughts or questions on the proposal, or just in the spring break in general, then I'd be very happy to hear it before we jump into anything deeper. Or if you haven't a chance to read it, I'm happy to just go over it in a bit more detail.
so you can just show
Oops.
your comment.
Yes. Okay.
Where you created this one.
Yeah.
This is a short version summary of a proposal.
Yes. Thank you for the guidance to us. Yeah, and so the Eden Fractal Spring Break proposal says vote yes if you agree to the following. 1, take a 2-week break from event, or a 2-period break from events. Start with March 26th as our last respect game before the break, and May 7th as our first respect game after the break. And then 2, the return date can be changed by the Eden Plus Fractal Council during the break through a poll in the Eden Fractal Telegram group. And then the idea is we would just post that as a Telegram poll today during the Eden Town Hall when the Eden Plus Fractal Council is in effect, and we can make proposals. Right now, Tadas and I are the only counselors. We both have 2 seats, or two council seats, basically, in the council. So basically, Tadas and I would need to agree to something according to the formal rules of Eden Plus Fractal. And so, yeah, basically we would vote yes if we agree both to take that 2-period event from breaks and to also have that flexibility clause where the members of the Eden Plus Fractal Council, whoever those may be, after the 26th, would be able to change the date through a poll in the Eden Fractal Telegram group.
Yes, so my thoughts are, so first of all, that flexibility clause, in general, I wanted to note that using Eden Plus Fractal process to change it, to set the schedule is fundamentally flawed. It has been working so far and can be used, but I mean, there is a vulnerability that councils could just stop scheduling proposals or schedule proposals somewhere far away. And respect game normally acts as a way to regulate Eden Plus Fractal process by electing new councils, new delegates, and this works to help in case councilors stop participating or if they don't schedule events as wanted by community. And if Eden Plus Fractal process can control the schedule, then this is you lose that kind of benefit. So yeah, that's why. Actually, this exact problem inspired me to go ahead and start creating that Eden Fractal repository, which is basically, I don't know, it's a Eden Fractal. It expresses state of Eden Fractal in the form of directory, or rather it tries to express state of Eden Fractal in the form of directory. And in it I introduced event schedule mechanism, which I think is very simple and robust, and which would basically make it up to respect holders to schedule events. Not to schedule them, but to confirm rather schedules. Yeah, but overall, this whole document and this directory would it does more than this event schedule mechanism. It would be basically the whole intent document of Eden Fractal. And I don't think we are ready to pass. I know we are not ready to pass this one. First of all, I would like feedback from, at least from Dan, and then, yeah, and even then, I think I would still want to change some things and maybe do another draft of this. But maybe also the event scheduling mechanism could be extracted and we could try it for this break. Although I'm not sure if it makes sense. Yeah, so these are just general thoughts about using Eden Plus Fractal for scheduling. Regarding the dates, right now for me they seem to work, although by my calculations, the end of season 12 would then be in August somewhere, or somewhere near August. So we disagree with Dan here in our calculations, but I don't know how Dan arrived at his number. But yeah, regardless of where the end of season 12 falls, I agree with the current dates, and I'm not sure if we need flexibility clause at all. Considering it's the middle of a season, I think we don't want to take any longer breaks in the middle of a season. And for me, it's not in the middle of a season, not just in the sense that we are calling this a season, 12 events, but also I think we have momentum in creating some of the stuff like this intent document and so on. And I think with longer breaks, we would lose that momentum. Even like 1 month break, I think we will lose momentum, but maybe we would not forget too much to come back to it.
Okay, thank you for sharing the thoughts and the feedback. I suppose I'll go ahead and respond, but yeah, Sebastian and Eric, just feel free to jump in at any point. It's good seeing you, Sebastian. So first off, regarding the dates that we would end season 12, I just asked AI about that. I don't know, maybe I have to do my math better, and maybe it messed me up, but I responded to your comment in Notion about that, and I just copied and pasted what the AI had said, and it said that it would start on, if we came back on the 30th, then we'd come back on July 9th, and if we came back on May 7th, that we would end the season on July 16th. But that would be also that's 11 weeks in a way, because it's only it's not like a full 2-period cycle, so maybe that's also where the disagreement may lie too, because with respect games happening bi-weekly, the end of the season would be 11 weeks after the return from mid-season break, as opposed to 12 weeks. But yeah, maybe this might be a better tool though.
Yeah, so I used this tool, you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start date May 7th, end date July 16th, and I get 10 weeks. Half the season should be 12 weeks. The way we are doing events now.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I got confused, or the AI got confused about it. But I think it should be probably 11 weeks if we were to do it the same way that we're doing the first half of the season, because what we're doing is 6 respect games. And being that we started the first event of the season with a respect game, then like we're ending March 26th. The break is what's being proposed, and I think we're in agreement for. And so that's only 11 events total, but that's 6 respect games. And so we're not doing an extra town hall after the respect game, which would be the 12th week. And so I would expect this to be saying 11 weeks. And so in that case, it might be July 22nd rather than 16th, if this math is correct. But and we could do 12 weeks, but just what we've done so far and what I was proposing was that just going by the respect game, that takes 11 weeks to go from to six respect games. Does that make sense?
Kind of. Well, either way, I think this is not that important.
I agree. Okay. Well, your other point about the also welcomes all. Thanks for joining. Hope you're doing well. We're just going back and forth about the break. If you have any thoughts about the break, there's a proposal which maybe I'll share in the chat for you so you can see. It's a draft proposal. It's kind of what we were talking about the past weeks, but now it's also been formulated into a shorter proposal. So I'll just share this in the chat.
I love it. Yeah, no, I think it'll be great to like do some of the things we've been saying that we were going to do during this whole season, but never actually got around to doing. So I'm excited, definitely in big builder mode right now. So yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Great to hear. And looking forward to seeing all the things that you'll build. I just shared the draft proposal so far in the Telegram group, so you can see that's all, or anybody can read that while we're just talking about things and share any comments in the chat or just unmute at any point. And the point that you mentioned to us about maybe the flexibility clause isn't needed. So I agree it's not needed, and I'm open to it. If you don't want to do it, we could just settle on that time. But to me, it seems like it might be better to come back sooner, or it might be better to come back later. And there's just simplicity in just saying that's the date and coming back then. But I was thinking about it, and I'd written that document that I appreciate you reviewing before the meeting called Thinking About the Flexibility Clause, Break Duration, Eden Plus Fractal Consensus Process. And I laid out some reasons for why it might be helpful to take a longer break, as well as shorter too. So like I agree that having a shorter break, like at first we were discussing maybe a 2-week break or a 3-week break. And I still think there's a chance that could be best because like you said, like that helps provide more momentum, or I suppose continue momentum, and allows us to have more time to discuss things like the intent document. And those are things that are very good to discuss in this kind of collaborative manner. And also, I think we've made a great deal of progress over the past 3 months or 4 months since the season started, and experimenting and exploring things like the respect trees and firmament, and we work on the fractogram and spectral development, and all this stuff has been really useful and will continue to be useful when we return for events. So I think that for one thing, if we did a 4-week break or a 5-week break, that's also one change that's in the current proposal too. So previously we were planning to return on April 30th, but then Tadas suggested taking a break until a 2-period break, which would be returning on May 7th. Because actually, if we went according to the same schedule, then we'd be returning on for the respect game on May 7th rather than April 30th. But we can also just stay and just come back on the April 30th. That's kind of like an open question. And the proposal last week was April 30th. But I just wrote May 7th because that's what Tadas wrote just now. But yeah, basically, if we came back on April 30th or May 7th, then it might be useful to come back sooner if we feel more ready for it and want to get back to it during the break. And then also, I think there's a chance, too, that it could be helpful to come back later. Specifically, and the main reason why I wrote this document, maybe I'll go ahead and just share this again, just so I can kind of outline some of my points here. Oops, I think I just shared the wrong thing. No, I shared the right thing. Okay. Yes, thinking about the flexibility clause document. So there's a table of contents here, explanation about how it could work. I'll also pull up Tadas' comments on the side too, so everybody can see what we've already discussed on the screen. And then Yeah, that first comment we kind of went over already about the dates, and it seems like I was just wrong about that. And then the last comment, that was before I made the proposal. So the only comment that we haven't really addressed here yet, and we're kind of working on, is like why it might be helpful to take a longer break is one of the things I articulated here. And I laid out infrastructure readiness, lessons from Optimism Fractal, sustainability for key contributors, community touch points continue, personal reasons, and seasonal rhythm as like a high-level overview. And basically the main reason why I think it might be helpful to take a longer break is that I'm planning to start the nonprofit and planning to do it over the break. And I just want to make sure I have time to set that up. I'm also planning to set up AA agents, and I want to start to pursue grants, basically, with that nonprofit. And there's going to be some infrastructure work necessary to incorporate that, and then to do some of the processes that need to be done for that. And I just want to just basically have time to make sure that's done, so that when we return for the second half of season 12, that incorporation, kind of like that just stuff that I need to do, is complete, and that we're not rushing into events that prevent that from happening during the break. I'd written some lessons from Optimism Fractal and past breaks, like when we decided to take a break from Optimism Fractal in December 2025, we decided to come back in January, and then later we realized that it just wasn't worth coming back, and it didn't make sense. And so I think that kind of showed that we have a bit of a tendency or habit to like schedule something to come back just because we want to keep the momentum and want to do it, but like upon more careful reflection, it just made sense to just stop Optimism Fractal. And I don't think at all it makes sense to stop Eden Fractal. We should 100% continue Eden Fractal. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. But just if it did take an extra week or two for me to have time to set up the nonprofit and have everything in place for season 12, then I think that would be valuable to do so that we come back in like a stronger position. And also there's some AI agent automation stuff that I intend to do over the break too, to help provide that kind of foundation to help automate some of the tasks that that the Eden Creators team is doing to like promote the events and stuff like that, as well as also like starting to pursue grants and stuff with the foundation. So those are the main reasons. And I figure this last point, or this third point, is about sustainability for key contributors, as a lot of our work in general over the past years here in the Fractal ecosystem and Eden Fractal has been volunteer-based. And so I just see it as a priority to ensure the community's long-term health and achieve our mission to establish these sustainable compensation structures and grant programs and stuff like that. And I also had a little toggle section here about like how like how having more events, if we don't have that infrastructure in place, the events are super useful for all sorts of community building and collaboration and research and development and so forth. But they don't currently provide like any direct avenue to funding, whereas having a nonprofit in place would make the events much more useful, because then it could provide funding and all the things that we build and discuss here, then allows us to earn more funding, or can help individual contributors and people in the Fractal ecosystem earn funding from the nonprofit. So there's basically an argument for sequencing here that front-loading some of the infrastructure development during breaks can help us come back in season 12 and the latter half of season 12, and also season 13 and future seasons, where there's a funded ecosystem where the events are more valuable, because at that point they will at that point there'll be like a tighter feedback loop, basically, where everything that we do at the events has a way to, I suppose, result in some funding coming back to contributors. So that's basically my main thinking and why it might be helpful to take a longer break. And I said down here, I think that like 70% likely that 4-week break will be perfect. I think there's a small chance that coming back sooner will be better. I think there's also a chance that coming back maybe in 5 or 6 weeks would be better than 4 weeks, just because I want to make sure that I know sometimes things take longer than expected. And that's why I was in favor of this flexibility clause, basically, to just have that flexibility during the break, so that we're not trying to prescribe, okay, it's definitely best to come back at this date right now and it's early March, but we can just both test out this process and then in mid-season or suppose mid-spring break, we could decide, okay, we're ready to come back now, or maybe another 2 weeks would be better, or whatever. And then, of course, during the break, there'd also be the other community touch points in the Fractal ecosystem, like Tadas can schedule Order Fractal, Zal hosts Zal Fractal every week. Eric's been hosting, or I think he's planning to host a kind of like a seminar that's doing appreciation with nonprofits. And several other people like Swarthy and Gudasol and others are working on fractals too and hosting events. So that's the most of it, and maybe I'll just go ahead and just explain these last 2 reasons too, because I've explained the first 4. I put a bit about personal, just that rest is helpful, and in general, on a personal level, I still find myself needing to catch up on a lot of important tasks from last year, and so in a lot of cases, I just thought that one break would be enough time, and just having a bit extra time could be useful to be able to catch up on some of those personal tasks, as well as being able to focus on the that infrastructure with a nonprofit. And also just having time for rest too, and reflection is really important. And then the last one is seasonal rhythm. As Tadas and I were discussing, if the end of season 12 falls around mid-July or early August, then if we wanted to do 6 event half seasons and continue the cycle, then and when we continue operating on a bi-weekly structure for Eden Fractal Respect games, then we would go into summer break sometime around late July or early August at the currently proposed schedule of coming back on April 30th or May 7th. And then depending on how long of a break we want to take, like in our winter break, we took an 8-week break, but I don't know if we'd want to take that long of a break for summer, maybe shorter, maybe 6-week or 4-week break. And then we'd be returning for September, and then we'd be having another 6 events before winter time, and this would help us align the end of the first half of season 13 to be right before Thanksgiving and Christmas and the holiday break and stuff like that. So I don't think we need to try to plan too much in the future here, because something Tadas mentioned last week is that we could also change it around. We could potentially have 8 events in the first half of the season or something like that, and then take a break. But it is something that might just be worth thinking about too, because like I wrote about how, like, for example, rather than taking an 8-week break in the summer and a 4-week break now, it might make sense to take a 6-week break now and a 6-week break in the summer, as just an example. So those are my ideas. And then I also wrote ideas about some factors that could favor a shorter break, like the consistent touch points, testing and feedback, spec-driven development, more recorded content and knowledge dissemination, more momentum and participation. I can go into all these too, but I've been speaking for kind of a while and longer than expected. So hopefully that was helpful, and I just wanted to provide an overview of why I think it's useful to have that kind of flexibility clause. So I'd be in favor of that, but I'm also very curious to hear what everyone thinks too. This is a new thing. We haven't had this kind of flexibility clause. Previously, we've always approved proposals at the actual Eden Town Hall events with the Eden Plus Fractal Council, but it seems like this flexibility clause is compliant with that. And I wrote some reasons why this flexibility clause is compliant with this up here. I can go into details about that. But yeah, maybe I'll stop talking here and see if Tadas is here unmuted. So curious to hear your thoughts, as well as Zal, Sebastian, and Eric, if anything comes to mind.
Yes, regarding the sequencing argument, I disagree. I mean, the way I would sequence and value things would be different than you when you are doing it. And as far as the whole community, we don't know like what's best for the community, because we haven't made any kind of consensus building regarding that. I mean, what we are talking about regarding sequencing, you're basically slowing down and stopping. I mean, taking even a longer break would slow down work on areas like intent document, contributor agreement, legislative process, and allow you to speed up non-profit work and individual. And I don't know if we should do that. And now if we were at the end of a season instead of in the mid-season, then regarding flexibility, I would even myself say, let's not fix return date at all. Let's create a mechanism to that allows us to start the new season when we're ready. But right now, in the middle of the season, I think, I don't think we should take longer breaks, and I don't think we should manipulate like what slow one thing down with regards to other, and if we are not sure that this is what the community values more. Overall, like regarding today, one idea I would have is let's pass the first part just to be safe, and then for the second, I'm not sure. Maybe I will come up with, or we would be able to build an intent document throughout the next week that has a more robust schedule, more long-term scheduling pattern, or we could in the last Eden Fractal event, we could before the break we could pass the second item if we're not able to have the intent document. But if we, I don't know, Dan, what you think, but if we would be able to focus and get the intent document passed, that would be a strong finish of mid-season.
Yeah, that'd be great. I really appreciate you making the intent document. It's nice to it's very nice to have it, and that's really important. And I'm open to, as you suggested, just going ahead and approving the first part of the proposal for the break, so we have something in there, and then not having any flexibility clause in the proposal right now. And then we could, as you said, follow up with the proposal about the flexibility clause, or maybe we make like a more comprehensive flexibility clause, which is kind of what you're doing a little bit. It's not called a flexibility clause, but it's like an Eden Fractal scheduling mechanism. Then maybe we can either implement that kind of Eden Fractal scheduling mechanism that can work not just for this event, but for all events, or all like coming back from seasons or mid-seasons. Or we can decide if we want to do that scheduling or that that flexibility clause as I had proposed here. So yeah, that works for me. Do you want to go ahead and approve that? And if so, do we want to approve the original proposal was to come back on May 30 or on April 30th, and then that was was taking off 4 weeks of events, which we had previously agreed was good. And then you had suggested taking a 2-period break off in the comments, which is coming back on May 7th. And so when I made the proposal, I used the May 7th. Could you use that? And I was like, okay, I suppose if I wrote about this flexibility clause, then maybe having an extra break might just be helpful, or an extra week for break might be helpful. But also, I know Zal and you and Rosemary and I think Sebastian also gave a thumbs up last time too when I posted that about the 4-week break. So if you want, we can just post the proposal for the returning on April 30th, or we could do May 7th. Do you have any preference?
I suggest this. Yeah, so I changed only one thing from your original first part of the proposal. Mm-hmm. In that, specifically, I think we only need to pass proposals regarding respecting, I think. Mm-hmm. Eden town halls, general Eden town halls, which are not before respecting, we do not have any power, and if we want, we can schedule them whenever. So we could schedule Eden town hall on April 30, or even earlier. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think this would be enough.
Okay, well, that works for me. And Yeah. If you want to post that in the Telegram chat, then I vote yes on it, or I can do so if you'd like. And yeah, we can always schedule town halls, and we could still schedule a town hall on the 30th if we'd like to. And also, that's another important point too, that we can just schedule over the break too. And a lot of the work that we do on like the intent document, we don't need a respect game for that. Respect games can be helpful for evaluating contributions and everything that's helpful for respect games and kind of incentivizing that. But we could easily, if we, I don't know, say if we're 1 or 2 weeks into the break and we're like, hey, it'd be really helpful to have a discussion about the intent document, then I'd be happy to schedule a town hall just ad hoc then, or do it on the 30th or whatever as well, because I want to make sure that we have the time and the place to make these important changes and discussions and so forth.
Yes, but although if we want to use a new scheduling mechanism that would be part of the intent document, we would have to pass the intent document before we pay.
Yep, that's true. If we schedule a town hall anytime at the break, we wouldn't have any sort of legislative power for that. The legislative power only exists for the Eden Plus Fractal Council to approve proposals in the events that we have respect games on them. So the next time to pass proposals, two proposals, would be either March 26th or May 7th.
Yes.
According to this proposal. I see also Eric is sharing a post in LinkedIn, a post as well in the Eden Fractal Telegram group. Thanks, Eric, for sharing that. Maybe if you want to speak about that in a little bit, then welcome to. Or maybe you can just share that in the respect game as well. And yeah, I just voted yes in your proposal to us.
Any thoughts from others? Are you okay with taking a break from respect game events from March 26th to May 7th?
I will retract my vote while I wait to hear from Sebastian, Zal, and Eric.
Sorry, what? I didn't. I was reading something.
Yeah, so we're passing a proposal.
Yeah.
Take a break from respect game events.
Yeah.
The last event would be on March 26th, in 2 weeks, and after the break, the first event would be on May 7th.
Yeah.
The first respect game event. We could also have town halls before then too if we want.
So, sounds fine. Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, just asking.
Yeah, I was sorry. I was just writing with Tanya from Austria, because she wants to build a Fractally forum. So I was a little bit distracted. Sorry.
No problem. Interested. Is that the person who joined the Eden Fractal chat, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tanya.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Yeah, she seems like she's doing really cool stuff. So I appreciate you messaging with her, and thanks also for sharing your thoughts on the proposal too.
You're welcome.
Okay. Haven't heard back from Zal and Eric, but Zal expressed support for it before. The only slight change was that we're having the respect game return on May 7th. I don't know if Zal heard that, but I think Zal expressed support for it twice over today and last week's event, so I think he's good with it. And I assume, Eric, if you have any opinion on this, then I'd be happy to hear. I see Zal giving a thumbs up now. And I suppose otherwise, I'm confident enough based on Sebastian, Zal's, and Tadas' thoughts and my thoughts to vote yes now.
Okay, me too.
Okay. Cool. So according to the Eden Plus Fractal process, the proposal is now approved to take a 2-week or 2-period break from respect game events, with March 26th as our last respect game before the break and May 7th as our first respect game after the break.
We could change it to the last event of mid-season, but for now I don't see. Maybe
Wait, what?
yeah.
What changed the proposal to say something about mid-season? You said change the wording of it, or what?
No, I mean there is still I'm passing this with an idea in mind that to just save in case we don't, in case we're like don't have a full picture, so I'm passing this just in case as a safety net in case we're not able to pass anything better in the next event. Yep. To be clear, I right now I don't think I'm pretty confident in the dates, but just saying we still have an opportunity to make changes next event.
Yep, that's true. And whoever gets elected as a delegate in the in about an hour after the respect game or at the end of the respect game can also help make that decision as well. All right, so now it is 12 minutes top of the hour, and I think we've thoroughly discussed the spring break proposal and Eden Fractal spring break, right? If anybody has any last comments on the spring break, then please let us know. But otherwise, I think that we're probably ready to move on to the next topic with the next most votes. I'll go ahead and share my screen to give us an update on that. All right, so the next topic that had the most votes, well, basically these two topics had about the same amount of votes, and I kind of voted for them to be kind of like the same in a way. Obviously they're two different things, but like they kind of overlap in some way. So the Eden Plus Fractal Improvements has 23.46% of the votes, and Eden Fractal Intent Document has 22.26% of the votes. And then after voting, I was like, oh, I should have voted more for the intent document. So I'm happy to discuss either the Eden Plus Fractal Improvements or the Eden Fractal Intent Document. And I see Tadas voted a little bit more for the Eden Fractal Intent Document. Of course, if anybody else wants to vote on these for the week 2, you can do so. So far, just me and Tadas voting in these, but it's welcome for anybody else to vote in the Eden Fractal Snapshot, follow the Synchronous Vectors chat, and vote there with your Epoch to Respect to help guide the agenda and discussions. And for now, we'll just kind of jump into the Eden Plus Fractal Improvements as well as the intent document. We can choose whichever. So everyone here knows, I think, that Eden Plus Fractal is our legislative consensus process for choosing delegates, deliberating decisions, and making committee decisions. We've been doing this back since 2022, since we haven't made all that many improvements to it. And I wrote more details here in the Telegram chat. I presume that you've had a chance to read that, but it's on the screen, or you can see in the Telegram chat. If any of you guys aren't familiar with this, and I wrote how there's some areas for improvement. And then also last week we had discussed firmament and how that can relate with the Eden Plus Fractal process. And yeah, basically there's a lot more details, but we don't have too much time, so I don't want to go too much into detail about it. And then there's the intent document. I also proposed this one saying how Eden Fractal needs its own intent document, envisioned as an operating manual for community coordination that clearly defines technical specifications, governance process, and community expectations. It can be somewhat similar to Optimism Fractal's intent document, which we used for a while, but back with Optimism Fractal. And Tadas did, he made a great start of this, where he created this Codeberg, which is kind of like an alternative to GitHub repository. That seems like it has more security than GitHub in a way, and it works with some sort of more advanced form of encryption and for it too. So maybe Tadas can explain that. And then, as I shared on the screen before, Tadas had put this this first draft of an intent document, or maybe second draft of an intent document here, and then in relation to the Eden Plus Fractal topic, this has a section about Eden Plus Fractal events and event scheduling mechanisms, and that was that was why I voted for Eden Plus Fractal improvement specifically for the event scheduling mechanisms. So I was curious to talk about that. So, Tadas, I see you're unmuted again. Is there anything that you want to share?
Yes, regarding why I chose Codeberg and the whole security model of this, it's whole another topic that would require, like, basically presenting a whole perspective about how to see this repository, because this is different kind of repository and how we would use it. Okay. But I don't know, I think the intent of Eden Fractal specification that Eden Fractal is intent is maybe more of a burning issue, so maybe we could just focus on that.
Okay, sounds good. Well, yeah, you linked to the intent document topic proposal I made here. So if you want, I can read out anything that I shared here out loud, or if you want, you can jump into more details about the Codeberg, or rather the Markdown file for the Eden Fractal intent document. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. I can also provide some feedback too and thoughts, although it might be best if I do that just over the week, because I only got the chance to read this starting like yesterday or this morning. So I'm sure I can come up with some comments there, or if anybody else on the call has any thoughts on the intent document in general, or Tadas specific draft, then those thoughts are welcome too.
Well, yeah, I would appreciate your comments, Dan. Yeah, but maybe let's do them over the week. So unless someone else has read it and has any comments, I could just maybe use this time, like 7 minutes, to present a short overview about what this is.
Yep. I think that sounds good. Just maybe just jump into it.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I will share the screen.
Okay, sounds good.
Wait a second.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so basically this is what we call an intent document of Eden Fractal. It describes what Eden Fractal is, and basically, in a way, this could function as a specification in where community is aligned with this intent, and if one implementation fails, for example, a smart contract or an app, then the community knows community is aligned on the implementation that works, meaning it can switch the implementation because it knows that what Eden Fractal is what's described in this document, and any implementation that fails to implement it correctly is not Eden Fractal. So yeah, that's one of the purposes, I guess, of this document, and it's also for anyone wishing a succinct description of what Eden Fractal is. This could act as that. I think some might call this kind of document a constitution also. In the past, we called this intent. I'm not sure which is better name, but yeah, and so it starts with simple statement of our vision and mission, which we passed before this epoch, with help of Eric, Dan, and Rosemarie, especially thanks to them. Yeah, and then I describe the core primitive of Eden Fractal, that's respect. Then second core primitive, respect game event. Then, just for the sake of clarity for what comes next, I describe what Eden Fractal period is. So it's a period between two respect game events. It's a period is a period of time between two respect game events. And then there are Eden Plus Fractal events, which we are currently having right now before the respect game. It's another discussion about how to call this. we're also calling it Eden Town Hall, but it's a different Eden Town Hall than say we have on non-respect game week. But for now, I called it Eden Plus Fractal events here. And then there is directory of Eden Fractal. So I say that any potential state of Eden Fractal can be expressed using a file system directory like this one, meaning this, what's in this repository. So it has everything like accounts, for example, contains respect distribution. Like this can be used for schedule, and so on. So everything that the whole state of Eden Fractals be expressed as this kind of directory. And yeah, a few special files like period, which defines what period we're in, index, which basically an index of all the files and their meaning. And then we come to event scheduling mechanism, which also acts, as you will see later, acts also as a security mechanism as well. So we respect game and Eden Plus Fractal events would be scheduled by proposing an invitation to the next event in public Eden Fractal communications channels. And for an invitation to be valid, it must be made at least 6 days before the proposed event, and must specify a directory, specific instance of Eden Fractal, which event will build on, and current period number. So basically, the inviter in the invitation specifies what is, in his view, is the current state of Eden Fractal. Yeah, and then respect holders can support the invitation, which is useful in case there are multiple competing invitations or multiple invitations on building on different competing states, in case community disagrees about what's the current state of Eden Fractal. Yeah, and then the amount of support, respect holder support, weighted by respect, could be used to determine which is a valid invitation, and most importantly, it can also be used to validate the current state of Eden Fractal, which the last point talks about. Yeah, so that's the idea. I would make some changes maybe still, but that's a general idea about the intent document.
Thank you, Tadas. We're at the top of the hour now, although we did get started 5 or 6 minutes late, so we could extend it a little bit and still have time for the respect game. So, Sebastian, Eric, do you have any thoughts or comments about the intent document that Tadas shared? Or Tadas, is there anything else that you want to share?
For me, no.
I will read it and give some feedback in the chat later on.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Looking forward to seeing your feedback, Sebastian, and thanks for reading it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll maybe share one question right now. Tadas, what is the best way to provide feedback on this? Because I see I can make an account on Codeberg. I don't know if I need to do that. I know also HackMD works well for leaving comments on markdown files, and it seems like most of these are, or at least a lot of these are markdown files. And I think that HackMD has like some GitHub integration or something, but I don't know exactly how that works. So would you recommend just copying and pasting whatever you have written and then leaving comments like on some different document, whether it be HackMD and Notion, or is there any way, or like should we like, I don't know, make an issue or pull request, something like that? or is there any way to just like kind of like leave comments on this, or do you have any other thoughts on the best way to do that?
So for now, I see two ways. One is make an issue on Codeberg. The other is, like you said, copy raw markdown file into say HackMD and discuss it there. Although, well, the benefit of the latter approach is that we could mark the specific items we are commenting on, but it's really when discussion gets long, it's really hard to navigate it.
Mm-hmm.
And since all the items are really numbered in this document, I think we could use some different discussion system. Maybe even a Telegram chat. We could simply refer to the sections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might be useful to create a new topic. I don't think we have a topic for intent document, and also I like the idea of calling a constitution too. Maybe that's better. I don't know. So that's also something to consider. But if we create an intent chat or a constitution chat, that could be a place where we could discuss that, and having that kind of not just comment on the document flow, but also just in the Telegram chat. That might be good. And then I suppose another thing we could do is you could just copy and paste both the link as well as the full intent document, and then use the quote feature in Telegram where you can highlight something and then right click on it and just quote that. So that's also another option that we could have too. So we could have kinds of threads of conversation going on there about that.
Yes. Yeah, I'm calling it constitution. Saying constitution would be clear to people what it is. Right now I feel like I have to explain what I mean by intent document. Although I think it expresses, the intent document expresses well like what the function, the way I see this, the function of this document, I think better. But it could be, both names could be valid, but we could use constitution for new people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, we've been using intent document. I like that these are our intents. But I mean, all constitutions are kind of in intent documents as well. But constitution has a nice ring to it. Sounds more official, and it kind of more clearly articulates it faster than an intent document would. So I'm open to either, but I do like the idea of constitution. All right. Do we have any final thoughts? By the way, while you're talking, I was just doing a chat to see if there's any way to sync GitHub with Codeberg and also sync HackMD with GitHub. You're saying no. And ChatGPT thinks it's possible, but I don't know. I'll have to read it, and then maybe I can follow up with that. But I was just thinking, if we could have Codeberg for like the security aspect, then that syncs with GitHub, and then we can use GitHub with HackMD, that'd be sweet. But I don't know. Actually, no. Never mind. ChatGPT said it's not a good idea. Sorry. Give it a 3 out of 10.
That's a different type of repository.
Okay. Well, I look forward. Maybe next week when we have 2-hour town hall, Tadas, you can explain more details about why you chose Codeberg and the whole SHA-1 and SHA-256 stuff and all the differences that we can learn. In the meantime, we'll just make like a HackMD document or a Notion document, and then we'll also probably make a Telegram chat, I guess, where we can follow up with the thoughts about intent document. And then if anybody has comments about that, would love to hear it, as well as the spring break coming up too, so that over the next 2 weeks we can think about scheduling and if we want to make any alternate proposal for the spring break and when we return. All right, got a thumbs up from Sebastian. Thank you to Tadas and Sebastian for all the thoughts. Thank you, Eric, for being here with us as well, and looking forward to hearing what you're working on in the Respect game. And I think that provides a good time to go ahead and start playing the Respect game. So thanks all for the great town hall, and I'll kick us off now for the Eden Fractal Respect game.